So now that we've gone through and discussed benefits of using cloud computing, let's now take a minute and talk about different types of cloud computing. And before we dive too deep into that, let's discuss a definition for cloud computing as a whole. AWS says that cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power, database storage, applications, and other IT resources through a cloud services platform via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing, and that pay-as-you-go pricing is critical as we discussed in the previous clip. Now let's look at some different models of how we use cloud computing. So let's imagine for a minute that we have a spectrum. And on this spectrum on one end, we have absolute control. But on the other end, we have minimum maintenance where things just run without us even having to think about it. Let's imagine 3 different points on this spectrum. First of all, on the far left, with maximum control, we have infrastructure as a service, or commonly abbreviated as IaaS. This is where we run servers in the cloud, virtual servers, that are very similar to how we would run servers in our own data center, meaning that we have full access to those servers. We can change the OS that's running on them. We can completely configure them to do exactly what we want. However, we also have to perform maintenance on those servers, keep them up and running to do exactly what we want them to do. But then, if we go to the far right of the spectrum, we end up with something else, and that's software as a service, or SaaS, commonly abbreviated as SaaS. Now for software as a service, you might not realize it, but you're probably using multiple software as a service solutions every day. And that could be your email provider, or that could be your specific chat service that you use with other employees. It's just a piece of software that you're able to run with. You don't have to worry about configuring servers. It is just provided to you as a service. And in the middle of these two, we have something called Platform as a Service, or PaaS. And this means that we're given a service that is configured for us where we simply need to deploy our customizations onto it. And so if you've ever used maybe a WordPress host like WP Engine, you can simply drop in your code and you can be up and running. They configure the WordPress install in the server for you. That's a good example. There also is a Platform as a Service solution on AWS called Elastic Beanstalk. So with these different options, we can understand that there are different ways to use cloud computing. Now, next, let's talk about different cloud deployment models. Now the first model that we see here is public cloud, or sometimes people will just say cloud. And this is when you are deploying a solution onto a public cloud provider like AWS. And there are others here as well like Azure from Microsoft or the Google Cloud Platform. Next, we have on-premises or private cloud. You'll also sometimes hear people say just on-prem, and this is when you have a cloud-like platform in a private data center. So if you wanted to be able to be somewhat scalable like you have with AWS, but you wanted to be able to do it within your own data center, there are solutions that you can deploy from companies like VMware, for example, to have a private cloud, and in some cases you will have what we call hybrid, meaning you have an organization that is leveraging both a public cloud, but those public cloud applications are working in tandem with a private cloud within their own data centers. And so it's important to understand that for some, especially large organizations, they could be using both a public, private, or using them together in a hybrid model. Thanks for watching our video. For more videos, please take 1 second and press the button below, like, subscribe, and bell icon.